If stegosaurs were alive today, how would the world change? Imagine walking through a forest in the 21st century, hearing birds singing above you, and then suddenly the ground begins to tremble. Out from the trees emerges a creature straight out of prehistory. Its back is lined with towering plates that glisten in the sunlight, and its heavy tail swings slowly from side to side, armed with 4 deadly spikes. You are not in a time machine. You are not in a time machine. You are not on the set of a dinosaur movie. This is reality, a world where stegosaurs never went extinct. But how would such a reality shape our planet? How would humans, ecosystems, and global society adapt to living alongside one of the most iconic dinosaurs of all time? But how would such a reality shape our planet? How would humans, ecosystems, and global society adapt to living alongside one of the most iconic dinosaurs of all time? Stegosaurs were among the most distinctive dinosaurs of the Jurassic period, roaming the Earth about 150 million years ago. They were massive herbivores, growing up to 9 meters long and weighing as much as 5 tons. Their strange appearance, with upright plates along their spine and a powerful spiked tail called the thagomizer, made them both fascinating and intimidating. Although they were plant eaters, their defensive weapons ensured they were not easy prey. Although they were plant eaters, their defensive weapons ensured they were not easy prey. But now, imagine if they had survived extinction and continued to evolve alongside modern life. The first question we must ask is, where would stegosaurs live today? These dinosaurs thrived in warm, semi-tropical environments with abundant vegetation. In today's world, regions like Africa's savannas, South America's rainforests, and parts of Southeast Asia could provide suitable habitats. They might also thrive in grasslands where food is plentiful, much like elephants do today. However, because of their massive size and constant need to feed, stegosaurs would require vast areas of land. Human expansion, cities, and agriculture could easily bring them into conflict with people. Ecologically, stegosaurs would play a role similar to modern megaherbivores. Picture them roaming in herds, stripping ferns and shrubs, opening up landscapes, and even creating pathways through dense vegetation. In doing so, they would indirectly support smaller animals and plants that rely on sunlight and open spaces, just as elephants are often called ecosystem engineers. Stegosaurs would become natural landscapers, shaping the environments around them. Yet, this also means they could easily devastate fragile ecosystems if their populations grew unchecked. Now consider what their diet means for humans. Stegosaurs ate low-lying plants, and in modern times that would include crops. Imagine a herd of stegosaurs wandering into farmland. In a single night, they could wipe out hectares of corn, wheat, or rice. Farmers would face enormous challenges protecting their harvests. Entire industries might spring up to design barriers, electrified fences, or deterrent systems specifically to keep stegosaurs away. In some countries, stegosaurs might be treated as pests, much like how elephants are sometimes viewed when they raid farms in Africa. But not all impacts would be negative. Wildlife parks would compete to showcase herds of stegosaurs grazing peacefully, drawing visitors from across the globe. Imagine a safari in Africa where, alongside lions and giraffes, you could also see stegosaurs wandering the plains. Or picture eco-tours in South America offering a chance to watch these ancient creatures feeding in the wild. The economic boost to regions that protect stegosaurs would be massive. Countries might even base part of their national identity on being the land of living dinosaurs. Of course, this raises the issue of ethics. Should stegosaurs be kept in captivity for human entertainment? Or should they be allowed to roam free in the wild? Zoos would struggle to provide enough space, while conservationists would argue that such majestic animals deserve the freedom of large reserves. Just as we debate how to treat whales, elephants, and gorillas today, humanity would wrestle with how much control we should have over stegosaurs. And while stegosaurs are herbivores, they are far from harmless. Their tail spikes could deliver devastating injuries. A startled or cornered stegosaurus could swing its tail with enough force to kill a large predator or a human who got too close. Accidents would inevitably occur, especially in areas where humans and stegosaurs live side by side. Governments might need to establish strict safety zones, warning systems, and even dedicated rangers to manage interactions between humans and stegosaurs. Predator-prey dynamics would also change. Predator-prey dynamics would also change. Modern big cats like lions or tigers would stand no chance against an adult Stegosaurus, though young or sick individuals might fall prey. Packs of wolves or hyenas might attempt to hunt juvenile stegosaurs, creating a new niche in the food chain. Raptors, vultures, and scavengers would thrive on the remains of stegosaurs that died naturally. The ripple effects through ecosystems would be profound, changing animal behavior, plant growth, and biodiversity at every level. But beyond ecology and agriculture, there's another factor to consider: climate. But beyond ecology and agriculture, there's another factor to consider: climate. Large herbivores like cows and elephants release significant amounts of methane during digestion, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. Stegosaurs, being far larger than cows, would likely produce enormous quantities of methane. If millions of stegosaurs existed across the planet, their emissions could have a measurable effect on global warming. Some scientists might argue that stegosaurs would worsen climate change, while others might point out their role in maintaining plant diversity could balance carbon cycles in other ways. Now let's shift our focus to culture. For as long as humans have existed, we have told stories about giant beast dragons, monsters, and mythical guardians. If stegosaurs had survived, they would undoubtedly have entered our myths and religions. Ancient civilizations might have carved them into stone, painted them in temples, or worshipped them as divine beings. In the modern age, stegosaurs would dominate books, movies, and art even more than they already do as fossils. Children would grow up not just learning about dinosaurs from books, but perhaps even visiting live stegosaurs on school trips. For scientists, stegosaurs would be a goldmine of knowledge. For scientists, stegosaurs would be a goldmine of knowledge. We still don't fully understand why they had such large plates on their backs. Were they for defense? For temperature regulation? For attracting mates? Living specimens to study? Paleontologists could finally solve these mysteries. Biologists could analyze their DNA, uncovering secrets about dinosaur evolution, disease resistance, and adaptation. Even medical research might benefit from studying their biology, just as studying sharks and reptiles has led to new discoveries for humans. But with all this comes potential conflict. Nations with native Stegosaurus populations might treat them as valuable resources, leading to disputes over conservation rights. International treaties would likely emerge to protect stegosaurs, much like CITES does today for endangered species. However, black markets could still arise. Poachers might hunt stegosaurs for their plates or spikes, selling them as rare commodities. Now, the struggle between conservation and exploitation would be a central issue of our time. So would humanity live in harmony with stegosaurs? Or would we repeat our mistakes of the past, overhunting, destroying habitats, and pushing them toward extinction once again? The answer would depend on our choices. If protected and respected, stegosaurs could become symbols of balance between nature and civilization. If exploited, they could become yet another tragedy of human greed. In the end, a world with stegosaurs would be both wondrous and challenging. They would reshape ecosystems, alter human societies, and remind us daily that Earth's history is still alive. The question is not just what stegosaurs would do to our world, but what our world would choose to do with stegosaurs. Would we see them as threats, as resources, or as living reminders that life on Earth is far older and more complex than we can imagine? Would we see them as threats, as resources, or as living reminders that life on Earth is far older and more complex than we can imagine? If stegosaurs were still alive, they would stand as walking monuments to survival, evolution, and the deep history of our planet. And perhaps, just perhaps, their presence would inspire us to become better guardians of the natural world.